Welcome to Time Traveler's Guide. I'm JP and this is the 6th of June. Today is a significant day for Europe in terms of the Second World War. So we'll be taking a look at D-Day, otherwise known as Operation Overlord. So we're going to travel back to the 6th of June 1944. But before we get to the juicy part, which is D-Day itself, I'm going to go through a few topics of interest. One of them actually connecting to D-Day itself or to the Second World War. Few events of interest. Two extremely large volcanic eruptions also occurred on this day, the 6th of June. The biggest of them being in 1816, Mount Tambora in Indonesia. It was actually so large that they called the year after the eruption. It erupted between 1815 and 1816. Some sources have different dates for the eruption itself because it occurred on various dates. It was various eruptions, but this was so big, the eruption, that it basically caused a nuclear winter to a degree. It was also called the year without a summer. What happens with a big volcanic eruption, it's the same as a nuclear winter because it basically blocks out the sun or the sun's rays, and it becomes quite a few degrees colder than the usual temperatures. The average temperatures drop by quite a large amount, causing much more snow and much longer winters, to a degree almost no summer. There was two eruptions. The other big eruption that also occurred on this date was in 1912, the eruption of Nauvoo in Alaska. Also a big eruption. This was the largest eruption of the 20th century. So two huge volcanic eruptions occurred on the same date. Let's hope no eruptions happen tomorrow or today. Then moving away from volcanic activity or geology. 1882, the electric iron was patented by Henry Seeley in New York. So the electric iron was also born. Then the first drive-in theater opens in New Jersey in the United States. So the first drive-in theater also opened on this day, on the 6th of June. Then in 1939, on this day, the 6th of June, a ship, MS St. Louis, carrying 907 Jewish refugees, was turned back from the United States and, basically started their journey back to Europe with the 907 refugees, of which 1/3 of these people died in the Holocaust in the German concentration camps, which is quite tragic considering the topic, which is D-Day, the main topic that I'm moving over to now. So, our main topic for today, D-Day, Operation Overlord, that finally started in Europe on the 6th of June 1944. Well, this operation took years of planning, or more than a year's planning. It involved over 1 million men. It was the largest sea-based land invasion of all time, in all of human history. So, it involved 1 million people. It involved 5,000 ships. It involved 10,000 planes. The figures around this is staggering. The amount of resources that went into this attack, the planning towards this attack. There was various decoys planned, fake encampments made, fake fleets made to make the Germans think that the attack would take place on a different date and at a different location. So the planning in this was enormous. It's unprecedented. It never happened before and it never happened since. And let's hope it never happens again, or a bigger attack of this sort never has to happen again. The initial attack was, the initial staging areas, this would happen in Normandy, French Normandy. The landing areas, there was 5 allocated landing areas. The initial attack was planned for the 5th of June, but due to bad weather, it was delayed up until the 6th of June. It started in the early morning hours in terms of the sea invasion, troops putting foot on ground in Normandy on the French beaches. But paratroopers and planes did start the attack earlier in the morning, just after midnight, if I'm not mistaken. In terms of casualties on the beaches, there was about 156,000 Allied troops involved in this attack, and about 50,000 German troops also that out the defensive positions which were being attacked. There was, I think it's about 170 German artillery pieces, some of them pretty big caliber. You're talking about 210 millimeter guns, which is huge, and the smallest ones being 100 millimeter. There was 183 Sherman tanks destroyed. 10,000 Allied troops lost their lives. This is just on the beaches, and about 9,000 German troops lost their lives. So this was a huge attack, and this was the first step in liberating Europe from Nazi hold. So this is the planning towards this was not just to liberate France, but this was the stepping stone into getting the Western Allies into Europe. So if this attack failed, it would have been disastrous for the Allies, and the war would have had a totally different outcome, or it would have taken longer, at least, for the Allies to achieve victory. This attack, if they did not start the attack on the 5th of, or on the 6th of July, they would have, or June, apologies, they would have had to postpone this attack up another month, which would have made a huge difference. The history books would have looked a bit different, especially in terms of where nations ended up at the end of the war. If you've watched my previous video, you would know that the Russians got to Berlin first. If this attack took place earlier and was successful, it might have happened that the Cold War would have kicked off a bit differently, because then the Americans might have gotten to Berlin first, which would have made a significant change to our world history that we have today. But this is the way it turned out. On the 6th of June, at 6 o'clock, roughly 6 o'clock in the morning, the attack was launched. It was still under bad conditions in terms of weather, and many troops landed on incorrect places, which basically sacrificed a lot of lives, because people landed on next to cliffs instead of beaches because of the bad weather and mist and rough seas. And this was also timed in accordance with the tides, because the German fortifications basically made it next to impossible to make the land invasion if the tides were wrong, because of the barriers put up on the beaches by the Germans, the barbed wire, the tank traps, and so forth. So this was a vital day in World War II history, and this was the first real conflicts in terms of the Western Allies getting involved in Europe itself. The war actually ended about a year after this event, a few months shy, well, about a month or so shy of this. So yeah, this basically, the Germans knew this was going to happen. I think General Rommel was in charge of the defense on the western flank towards Britain on the French coast. So Normandy, many people lost their lives on this day, and we would all do good to remember the lives that were lost, sacrificed towards gaining liberty for Europe and ending the Nazi hold on Europe, and making the war a bit shorter. So that's it for today's Time Traveler's Guide. Guys, downstairs, like, subscribe and share, and leave a comment, and remember to hit the bell icon to get notified of future uploads. Thank you guys, enjoy the rest of your day.